What is it that you want that money doesn't or hasn't given you?
If you sat down with someone and you said, look, you had all the money and all the things you wanted, what would you do with your life? Right? And I've asked people this question many, many times.
Yeah.
A tremendous number of people have all said, oh, I would just lounge around. You actually don't know what you would do. People say stuff like, everything happens for a reason. No, it doesn't. And for any reason. Well, not unless you want to make one up, which you probably will, and then you'll say that was the reason.
Yeah.
But it never happened because of that. It just happened.
Why are you debating what we're saying on the board? Why are you doing that? What are you avoiding dealing with in your own life? I mean, why are you here?
To me, it was all just shtick.
Yes. So you stop swearing now.
So my first thought was, fuck them, right? That was my first thought. But the second part of it that was really powerful for me was when I finally realized they were there to get what I've got.
Welcome to Free to Lead. My name's Will Steele, and today I've got a very special guest, Gary John Bishop, New York Times best-selling author, and we've had an amazing conversation. So get ready for a real treat. I was thinking about what I'd like to ask you, right? So for me, there's a big difference between transformation and what people talk about when they talk about transformation, right?
Okay.
But real transformation. Because when you have a real transformation, life's not the same again. I remember when I transformed. I remember the moment. I remember everything. I remember the whole thing. And we're in the same game. So you must have had a transformation.
Yeah.
At some point. What was your biggest transformation or your first transformation? That's usually the biggest, but it might not be.
So the first issue with telling somebody your transformation is it sounds like nothing. It doesn't sound like anything particularly insightful or impactful. And that's why transformations are so personal, because it was the world to me, right? Whereas if you were to tell somebody, oh yeah, this is how it used to be for me and this is how it is now, they'll mostly say, that's nice.
Yeah, well, I think what works is if you can tell us, get us back there. What happened? What was it you saw?
Yeah, so it was a moment that I realized that I was way smarter than I thought I was, which sounds...
But what happened?
So it was the first time in my life I'd ever really distinguished the difference between what I was saying to myself and myself. So there was what I was saying to myself, and it was almost like there was this little gap appeared where I could actually hear what I was saying to myself, but not as if it's me.
And what you were saying to yourself was,
I'm not smart enough.
I'm not smart
and
enough.
I'll never be smart enough. And it wasn't like, this is a thing with an internal noise in your head. You're not saying it to yourself all the time.
No, it's just
right?
there.
It's just, it'll peak and then it'll, get quiet. And then it'll peak. And then when you're pressed, when you're really up against it, it'll get a bit noisier. And one of the things that I noticed for me, this was really powerful for me to understand at the time. Again, I didn't really notice that I'm walking about saying I'm not smart enough, but I was living that life.
Yeah. It's in the background.
Right. So it was behind my choices. So if you'd said to me, do you think you're not smart enough? I'd have said, what are you? You out of your mind? No, I'm great. I'm doing awesome. Right. But when I tracked back and looked at some of the branches of my life where I had taken a turn, I noticed that I backed away from some kind of intellectual challenge.
Mm.
And so I'd gone in a direction where I thought, I'll be better going here. But at the time, again, I'm not saying to myself, oh, that's too much for me. I'm not smart enough. I'm saying to myself, no, this will be better for me. It'll be better for me to do this. I didn't realize my choices in life were far more driven by what was going on in the background than necessarily what I liked or what appealed to me. And that's the same for everybody. So as you make your way through your life, you think you're following your dreams, and really you're following your fixes and avoiding your stuff.
So for me, it was when, we're talking about there's a difference between what happened and then what you made that mean. So there is a moment in time, I don't know if you remember it, but when I saw it for myself, I remember it, where you must have said something like, oh, hang on, I'm not smart or something.
So there's that kind of separation. I think if you ask most people about reality, they'll describe whatever they describe. And I haven't met many people in my life who actually exist in it. So what I have is people who are in reality, but they're in a bubble in reality. And so what you're talking about, which was unbelievably powerful, is you start to see your own bubble. You start to see like, oh, there's a distance between me and life. Like there's something there that I don't get to engage with life itself. I get to engage with something else engaging with life.
Mm.
And so all of that was a lifetime of just whatever, I said this a long time ago. So everybody's traumatized, but it doesn't necessarily feel like trauma. So then what is it? What is trauma? It's just moments in your life where you took a turn. And some of those turns are really subtle. Like but there's no one gets through life unscathed. You can't get through it without being slapped around by it. Sometimes in little ways, and sometimes in really dramatic and traumatic ways. Some trauma is traumatic. Other traumas are they just shift your direction. You settle on certain ideas and beliefs and notions and opinions, and you don't notice you've done that. You just drift along that path. You don't realize that you're going further and further into a direction. That's why, I've been working on a book recently, and one of the things that I talked about in this book is that I said, your life is more about following a trail of solutions than actually living it. You're mostly just following what you think will make it better. So you're following what you think will make better about yourself, better about your job, better about your finances, but just all the same trivial stuff that we're all wrapped up in. You don't realize that your life is going in that direction. And then somewhere, I think it's in psychology, they call it your midlife crisis. I call it the bankruptcy of self. It's when you get to a point where you're like, oh, wait a minute. What's going on here? How did I arrive at this point? As the song goes, how did I get here? And then you're kind of stuck because now you don't even recognize yourself because you've taken so many turns somewhere in there, you kind of got lost.
You and I have known each other a long time, but I've never actually asked you what happened. What happened that you concluded I'm not smart?
There's a couple that stick in my mind.
What was the earliest one?
Right. So this is the subtlety of it, right? This is what people need to understand is the subtlety of it.
Yeah.
In class, and I may be third grade or something, right? So primary 3 in Scotland. Now that I've got these 2 accents.
So what's that?
So primary 3, I went into school a little early. I might have been 7.
Right.
Right. So I'm in class and the teacher goes, what does an artist use to paint? Right.
Yeah.
So I had seen this television show with this pretty sophisticated artist, right? Probably Tony Hart.
Right. Take Hart.
Right. But anyway, I'm watching and I saw this guy with a painting knife, right? So he's smearing these thick oils on and creating this masterpiece with this palette and knife, right?
Yeah.
So I throw my hand up there and I go, knife. And everybody laughs. And the teacher kind of goes, she laughs a little as well. She wasn't ridiculing me or anything, but in my mind, I was like, oh my God, I should never have opened my mouth, you idiot.
What was that like?
Well, when you're in, when you get yourself to those moments and you recollect like that instant, there's a deep sense of shame. You're like ashamed that you should have just shut up, shouldn't have said anything. And why did I not see that? And how couldn't I understand that? And so, again, at the end of that day, I wasn't like crying into my pillow or something. I just went home and went about my life.
Right.
But I took a turn.
What did you decide there? What did it all mean to you?
Well, obviously, this means I'm not smart enough. I should have seen that coming. I'm not smart.
Of course.
But it's not. This is the thing, though. I think, in the kind of work you've done, the work that I've done, you think it's all that moment. It's not. It's an accumulation of evidence for that moment.
Yeah.
So there's subsequent moments that you need to wedge it in.
Yeah.
And so all it takes, and so now you're on the lookout for it. Now you're kind of,
you're now listening for evidence for.
And so you're gathering it over time.
Yeah.
And then what you become is a compensation for it. So now I'm just a compensation for
everything.
Way?
In what way did you compensate for not being smart enough?
Well, one of the things that I always like to do, and I guess in some ways I even do it now, is I like to get to, I don't want to hold something in the abstract for too long. So I want to get to the heart. I want to quickly get to the thing. I want to, and so I became known for somebody who would cut through the morass and get to because I didn't want to get lost in the weeds of analysis.
Right.
Because, I'm not smart enough.
Exactly. I heard that one.
Right, I'm not smart enough. So then that realization, much, much later, when I saw the moment and I saw who I'd become, and it's not just you see who you become, it's you see who you become in the trail of it. So you're like, you follow it from there and you're like, oh, man. Oh, crap.
My life.
Right. So then you just see like all your hang-ups, all of the angles you've got, all of your shtick, which is probably the worst one, to get around this thing. Obviously, I've devoted my life to helping people finally get to what I would just call the heart of the matter. It's not an easy thing to just get to.
Yeah, it's not like you're now fixed because you saw that.
No. And the reason why it's not easy to is because it's so intertwined with your circumstances. So in the ins and outs of your circumstances, you can't quite see it all. It takes a bit. And you need to find your own language for it too. You need to find a way to kind of get to the heart of it that resonates for you. You can't have somebody tell you it.
That's true.
It doesn't work.
Yeah.
It doesn't.
When you and I were training, one of the hardest things was not telling them what I think their answer is. It's like, what do you mean this? No, you got to let us say it in their words,
I've been in more situations where I care to remember where I say, here's what's going on. And the person's like, no, that's not it. And it is it. Because I've seen this 28,000 times and I know this is it. And I've been here way more times than I care to remember. So you can't do that. You can't deliver it to them. You have to kind of just say, well, take a look down there. And somebody will take a look down there and they'll maybe let their thoughts ponder and wander. And then, one of the great things about being a coach that I've always loved is when people come and tell me they've had this brilliant discovery, right, that I told them about 6 weeks before.
Yeah.
Right. But I never ever say, well, duh. I never ever say that.
No.
Oh, that's brilliant. Wow, that is tremendous. But whatever that thing is for them, it's funny, the deeper you get into this kind of work, you can't meet anybody and not immediately get a sense of what the pretense is.
Yeah.
Well, I can't. I for sure can't. Like every time the question that's always on my mind is, why this? So when people are talking to me, I'm like, but why? Why this? Like, why is this what you're giving me?
Right.
Like, what is this?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And invariably what it leads me to is, what's behind this? Because this is a compensation for what you're not saying.
I get exactly what you're talking about. And maybe they do too, but I have a thought, maybe they don't. So when you say this, you mean, how are they showing up for you? How are they being towards you? How they're acting, speaking? Everything,
dressing, walking. I mean, it gets so refined, your ability to kind of reach for that I could basically, and there were definitely been big times in my career when somebody's walked in the room and I know. Just the way you walked in and sat down.
Yep.
I get the whole deal.
Yeah.
You don't even need to say anything.
Yeah.
Right? Because I know what's over there. And I know what's over there from what you're trying to present me with.
Yes.
And when I see that presentation, it's all a presentation. This is, everybody's doing it. There's nobody out there not doing it.
When I first started leading, I was like wary of that and not wanting that to come up. But after a while, I want that at the microphone. Come on, bring it on,
Yeah.
Because then you open up the room to, this is what's happening with all of you.
Yeah. One of the things that I'd always so I'm from Glasgow, and Glasgow's one of those places where it's generally laid right out in front of you. There's no shilly-shallying around, And so I always imagined myself as somebody who was really like robust in conflict. Right? I'd always thought myself like, I got this. Yeah. I'm from Glasgow. It's nothing. But the deeper that I went into the work and the deeper I went into coaching people and training people, I realized it was a really precarious piece of geography that you were getting into. You were going in with places with people that were, and you had to be really responsible for or really tuned into, like, okay, what's all the ways this could go? And then, and that at the beginning for me anyway, certainly made me a little hesitant. And then it wasn't until, it didn't take too long, but within a few months, I started to realize, like, there's nothing they've got that I can't handle. Which sounds really egotistical, right? And I know that it does, but that's how it is.
I don't know. Did you ever lead a program in Boston?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I led there, and we had people there who've got PhDs.
Yeah.
7 degrees.
Yeah.
You know, I had something similar to what you got. I've got that as kind of an aspect. It's not my main thing. It's just as an aspect.
Yeah.
Right? So they get up and they start like, you know, why is this? Why is that? And when I first started interacting with them, it was a threat. Like, whoa, hang on, I'm leading the program, not you, you know?
Yeah.
But then I got a real great way to deal with that, which was nothing to do with me against them. It was like, okay, well, why would you go there? Why are you debating what we're saying on the board? Why are you doing that? What are you avoiding dealing with in your own life? I mean, why are you here?
Yeah.
So switched it.
Right. So mine was different. So I had 2 things. The first one was F them. To me, it was all just shtick.
Yes. So you stop swearing now.
So, well, yeah, I'm being polite because it's a Saturday evening and I'm feeling a little sophisticated. So my first thought was fuck them, right? That was my first thought.
Yes.
But the second part of it that was really powerful for me was when I finally realized they were there to get what I've got. So there was nothing, I got nothing going on. You're here to get what I've got. You're not here. It might sound like we're jousting, but we're not. So now I'm in this dance to give them what they came for. So that was a really, like another big watershed moment for me. Like that disappeared the threat like that. Like there was no threat. Like they're here for what I've got and I've got it. Like I know how this turns out. Right. I know I'm the only person in this room that knows exactly how this is going to go. Right. And when you're in the driver's seat like that, when you're the captain of the ship, you know, I mean.
Yeah, there's no way they can't knock you off course because you know where the ship's going.
I know where we're going. I know where we're going. And then there's that kind of gravitas to that because they're getting a little edgy and a little upset and I'm not.
Yeah.
Because I know how this, I wake up Monday morning, I know where this all ends. And so that was really pivotal for me as well. Like I got that they were maybe shifty in their seats or argumentative or upset or whatever. Yeah, that changed everything for me.
I quite often have conversations with people and they're you know, it's like, so you're a coach, so what can you do for me? You know?
Yeah.
And I said, well, you know, do you want to grow your business? What do you really want? Oh no, I'm good, man. What can you do for me?
Right.
I'm like, why are we having a conversation? You know?
Yeah. Yeah, that would be the shortest coaching conversation I'll have.
Yeah.
I've actually had those conversations with people who come to me and want to be coached. And if I'm generating it, we're done.
Yeah.
Because, you know, there's nothing there. You're just, and, you know, I've had those situations where people, you know, after the success of the books and, you know, all that sort of stuff, people are like, oh yeah, you know, I want to be coached by you. And I'm like, okay, but why? And it was more just to say that we're getting coached, you know, rather than there was anything at stake, you know, but people don't realize, and not all coaches agree with us, by the way, which is okay, but I like to think I'm a pretty decent one. What's really, really important, and I think it's important for a client to get, is that the minute I'm on the hook for what you get, you're no longer responsible for your life.
Yeah.
It's not on you anymore. Now you just get to sit back, fold your arms, pay your money, and wait for the sunshine. And that's a really crappy coaching relationship.
Yes.
You want somebody to come to the table with, listen, here's what I'm after.
Yeah.
Can you deliver on that? Okay, now we're talking.
That's right. Exactly right. Exactly.
Now
right.
we're talking.
You know, people are people, right? But to get it clear, what we're about is what we're trying to deliver is what you're up to. Having that happen. I mean, I had a potential client came to me recently, and I was really quite excited because this guy was, you know, he's like, is a shake, right? Which is
Yeah.
like way up there. Oh,
Right.
good. This will be good.
Right.
This will be great. Except he wasn't up to anything. So I spent a day with him because I thought this is worth investing. This is worth
Yeah.
investing. I'll see what's really going on because he's being very kind of everything's cool, everything's nice. And what I got out of him, eventually he admitted he'd love to be the prime minister of his country.
Mm-hmm.
I said, oh God, well, that's a game worth playing. I can coach that.
Right.
So he said, yeah, let's go ahead. And then just before we started, he sent me this email saying, can you send me your deliverables? Like what we're
Yeah.
going to be working on and, what skill sets we're going to learn. And can you kind of list it all out for me? I was like, you don't get it. I'm not one of these coaches who I've done this. I've gone from A to B. I'm going to show you how to go from A to B. That's not coaching for me. That's more like mentoring or instructing.
Yeah.
Here's my deliverable. You become the prime minister.
Right. So even to somebody listening to this right now, that might sound like, and I know what you're saying, but that might sound like snake oil, right? Because it seems like, and I know you're not, because I know what you do, but people might be like, oh, well, why won't you be direct with him? The crux of the matter is because you don't know what's in his way, and neither does he.
Mm.
And that's what you do with people.
Yeah.
You actually bring to light what they have never been able to understand about themselves.
Yeah.
And when that comes to light, that's their aha. That's their like, what? Like they can't believe you joined dots they didn't even know existed. So there's a world that he's in when he's looking at being a prime minister. There's a world that he's in that has that be out there and unattainable.
Yeah. He's not in the right, what do they call him? Tribe, or he's not got the right people behind him, or he needs to do this, this, and this, and all. And it's all like political moving chairs and all of that. In his head, it's all this big chess game.
Right.
Versus what's stopping you just speaking up and going for it?
Well, I think that's the thing. The complexity is that the first challenge for somebody like that is you've turned it into this big chess game.
Mm.
Right? That's where they would be like, oh, yeah, I have. I've turned into this big chess game.
Right.
It's not this big chess game. Now, let's talk about the kind of person that you've become that you would do that. Like, how come this became a chess game for you? Yeah. And what they'll do is people examine their lives very, very circumstantially, not from who they are about these circumstances.
Yeah.
So when I look at the circumstances of my life, I'm like, well, I just need some guy to come in and tell me how to turn this 10 grand into $1 million.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And which is a brilliant question to ask someone, not the question to ask me. The question I would ask is, how come you've turned yourself into this person who needs some guy for that? Like, what happened? How did you get to this point?
Yes.
Right? Where, and another question that people often don't want, one of the things I like to say to people is, money's a tremendous pacifier. When you get money, for an awful lot of people, it'll completely dull you to the possibility of your life and what you could be in this life doing. Yeah. So you'll just have the money. And I've come across potential clients who didn't become clients because I wouldn't work with them, because there was no way past the comfort of the cash for them.
Yeah. Like, I've made it. What do I need to do anything for?
Right. But that's a society that's trained us that once you reach a certain number, then you'll be there. And yet this person is looking for coaching.
Yeah.
So you can't be there.
You can't be.
No. So what's there then?
What is it that you want that money doesn't or hasn't given you?
Look, if you sat down with someone and you said, look, if you had all the money and all the things you wanted, what would you do with your life? Right? And I've asked people this question many, many times.
Yeah.
And a tremendous number of people have all said, oh, I would just lounge around. And I'm like, no, you actually don't know what you would do.
No.
There was this, I can't remember who had this quote, but, and I'm just being honest, it was a video. And the guy said, intelligence is not the accumulation of knowledge, but the exploration of imagination. That's wisdom. What it takes to live a life of possibility at its most base level is an unbridled imagination.
Yeah, because the possibility of possibility, it's possible. Why not? Why is it not possible?
Right, but even if I say the possibility of possibility, even that's a limitation.
Okay.
It's a limitation in language. See, like if I said to somebody, like, anything's possible for you, people throw that around like, oh yeah, I totally believe that to be true.
Until they're faced with the challenge. Or
Right,
they're
well, you
faced with,
said, and then you say to them, well, my usual answer is, but what about for your dad? Well, not for him. He's a cranky old so-and-so, right?
Exactly.
Well, so everything's possible for you, but not for them. So not everything's possible then.
Yeah.
And if you take people, even the most simple one is you get people to look at their politicians, you'll see that they actually don't think that anything's possible.
Right.
Right? They'll say it like a bumper sticker,
Yeah.
but they don't believe that anything's possible.
Oh, anything's possible,
Right.
but not really.
Right. Anything's possible, but here's what's likely.
Yes.
Is
yes.
how it goes.
Yeah.
So the part of the struggle, it's not a struggle, I guess. It's a concern and a challenge of mine in all of my work and all the things I've done, every book I've written, is to make transformation real. The real wrestling match is language.
Yeah.
To make transformation real for somebody. Because it doesn't, I said, you and I have talked about this before. I said, the deeper I get into it, the more I write, every kind of sophistication of what I want to say has to be almost poetic.
Yeah. Well, it was me who told you that. Remember?
Right.
That all the great philosophers were trying to get it across what is being, what is it, what is it, that eventually gave up and became poets.
Right.
And then you read me a section of your new book, right? That you and I talk one week, you're all stuck. You go off, you come back, and you read this thing out, and it's like, wow, this is so colorful. This is so beautiful language. He turned into a poet.
Right. Well, because I remember writing it, I was writing it crying.
Tell me.
Because I felt as if, because I knew what I wanted people to get, but I could never give it to them. I didn't have.
What was the moment when you're writing it that it suddenly came up around you, that feeling?
Well, so it was a combination of David Bowie and writing, right? So David Bowie was in the background.
Yeah, what song?
Right. Changes was playing in the background.
Okay.
And I'd had these increases, like, I'm 58 now, and I'd had these thoughts about, getting older. And, I've got 3 young sons and my beautiful wife and this life that we've built together. And time was increasingly these little vignettes of thoughts about time and how much do I have left and have I used it wisely? And am I using it wisely today? And I'm sitting at my laptop and I'm writing. And sometimes I'll do this when I'm writing. I'll just write. I'm just I'm just writing what I'm in the presence of.
Yes.
I'm not necessarily writing the book.
Right.
But this was in the book. And what I was started off with is fucking hate time. Like, fuck time. Like I'm sick of time. Just so screw this. Like, time. Who needs it? It's just nonsense. David Bowie's playing in the background and my sons and this, like, I can see myself aging in their eyes. Right. And then it just started to wash over me. Like I'd had this thought that I'd went to bed last night and woke up this morning and it was a different day. And then I thought, no, it's not. No, it's not. It's not a different day. And then it all came through me like a flood of, like, I'd never ever considered that there was no passage, that there was no linear passage of a life, and that it was all being and presence, and then it's no more. And then it just blew me away. Like that was one of the few times I'd got myself to this spot where I recollected this quote by Alan Watts, and I'm going to bastardize it here. And he just basically said, people relate to time like standing in a river, and that the future's coming towards you in a current and flowing away from you behind.
Yeah.
And he said, it's not. You're standing in the middle of the river and time is left to right. And it's not moving. Not moving. There's no passage of time. Time So what I eventually got to in this passage as I was writing it and the tears were running down my face is that now is eternal.
Yeah.
But I'm not. And so when I got that now is eternal and I'm not, and now doesn't end, I do. So then I was like, whoa, like there was no urge or itch to finish the book. Like I need to get this done. No. Why? It's all now. Every thought I might have about the future or the past, it's all side to side. It's not back to front or front to back. Like it's all here right now. So if I talk to you about the past, it's all now. If I sleep, it's all now. If I write, it's all now. If I drink a cup of tea, it's all now. If I go to the bathroom, it's all now. It's all happening now. And there's nothing for me to do with any of that other than the way I kind of pictured it in my mind is that I'd spent my life as a meerkat peeking out of a hole, thinking this was the limits of my existence. And then I looked up and I realized that I actually exist in a grand cathedral of now. And that it's my job to explore this and experience this for everything that it's got. And then it'll continue. Now will continue as it's always continued because it doesn't go anywhere. And then I'll no longer be able to get my head above the rim of the hole. I'll be gone. And so somebody else will get the experience now.
You rung me up when you just kind of gotten that and you started sharing what you just shared.
Right.
It was like there was no external noise anymore. There was there wasn't ever any external noise anyway.
Right.
Right. That was all somehow, I don't know, running, around my thoughts or whatever. But it's just like the whole room became quiet. And at the same time, I'm aware of it.
Right.
In a whole other way, right? It's like
So I called you and I called somebody else. I called two people that I would have respect for their listening. And I knew I'd nailed it.
Yeah.
By the way they were, the way you were on the other end of the phone. Like I knew that the words that I'd put together to give this to people, I knew I got it because the silence from your end of the phone was deafening.
That's right. That's kind of like what I was trying to express. Yeah, it was like that. It's silent, but at the same time, it's really loud
like
silence.
You were in the presence of something, and that's ultimately what you're trying to elicit with people. You talk about like the book that you wrote, and I talk about every book that I've ever written. You can't read it to judge the book. The minute you're doing that, you should just put it down and go.
Yeah,
go
it's
for a
not
walk.
About the book's not about the book. The book is about you,
right?
And now,
right. So what I like to say to people is, the value of everything I've ever written is not in the words, but in the spaces between them. So if you can ponder enough in the spaces, that's where it all becomes alive for you, where it will enrich you, and not the words, what you thought about between them.
Right. Or I would say, very good, because that was my dilemma, Rick. I mean, it took me 40 months to write my book because I couldn't say it. I said, there's just got to be exercises. They've got to do something other than just read. But now it's not what I say and it's not what the words say. It's what you see while you're reading it.
Right. And your challenge is, have I given you enough to see it?
Yes.
Right. And if I haven't given you enough to see it, I failed.
Yeah.
Right. So then you might say, well, this book was terrible for me. What I like when I see people talking about my books is I finally realized X.
Yes.
And I'm like, okay, job done. Right.
Exactly.
And if somebody reads the book and goes, this just sounds the same as every other. Okay. So whatever I said or there. And I think this is another, I had this book that I wrote called Wise as Fuck. And it's simple truths to guide you through the shitstorms of life. Right. That's the title. And the first thing I had to address in it for the context of the book was, well, what is wisdom for us as we're making our way through life? And that was the first time I'd really kind of pushed into, it's not knowledge. I think somebody else really summed it up a lot better than me. I think it was an Irish rugby player who said, knowledge is knowing that a tomato is a fruit. Wisdom is knowing not to put it in a fruit salad. Right. Which I thought was brilliant.
Said another way, there's there's all the knowledge you've got, but it's how you use it or how you apply it, or
That's a massive aspect of it. But if it was just knowledge, there's a ton of stuff in your life that you know you shouldn't be doing, you wouldn't be doing.
for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
If it was just knowledge, like, I know.
Yeah.
And if you ask people, like, why does your life not work? And then they'll tell you, and I'll say, well, you know, you should do something different. And they're like, oh, I know.
And they don't.
Because the knowing hasn't actually changed anything. It's just I'm now more informed about why I'm stuck.
Yeah.
Right? So in that book, I wanted people to understand like some fundamentals. Like, okay, what if I understood, and one of the subjects I touched on was loss. What if I understood loss in a new way? What if I could actually look at the experience of loss in my life right now and place it somewhere? And ultimately, that's what a lot of this comes down to. Most of your pain is a function of where you've placed it.
Place the pain or place the context for what's happening? Or?
All of it. So it sits with you somewhere.
Mm.
So the negative experiences of your life, if you like, are with you in a certain location.
I mean, can you think of a real example of your own?
So if I look at for myself, when I was in my 40s, my sister died.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah. And I'm the youngest, so she was the one directly above me.
How many were there of you?
The four of us, 3 older sisters and myself. I've still got 2 very spectacular sisters left.
What happened though?
She got cancer. You know, she had cancer. And I kind of knew it was coming, but when it landed, right? So, and this is how loss goes. It lands on you.
Were you there or?
No. I was working actually.
Really?
Yeah, when it happened. So it lands on you. So loss lands on you.
Well, tell me. So somebody phoned you up? I mean, what?
No, I was phoning frequently at the time. You know,
all right. How's
she
it
was
doing?
going in. Yeah, it's not looking good. You know, so we knew it was coming. You know, she had been through chemotherapy and done tons of stuff, and she had children of her own, and you know, my nieces and nephews, and you know, and she was only in her 40s. You know, it wasn't like she was. You know.
So who told you?
One of my sisters told me. In fact, it was my niece who told me the first time, and then I was on the phone with my sisters, and then. But the thing is, I think the most important thing, and this will be for the people who are watching this, how it landed for me was, I've lost something. Right? So it's like I've lost. That's how a lot of grief settles with people.
Yeah.
Settles into this kind of paradigm of loss.
Yeah.
So now I'm just following down this pathway of what I should have had, what I'm missing out on. You know, like something's been taken away from me and from her family and her children, and it's been taken away. And so what I was left with was this never-ending wound. That's what I was going to have. I was going to have a wound.
Yeah.
And it was never going to heal.
Yeah.
The only thing that would happen would be I would occasionally feel a little better about it. And that's a limit.
Right. That's how it landed for you. In that moment, future you see yourself living into.
See, no, I wouldn't use that language. I wouldn't use that language because that's not an experience for somebody. Nobody has the experience of living into something. People have the experience of thud, you know, like it's on your chest and it's in your gut. And you look at your life and like something that was there, like that table, right? It's not there. And you turn for it and it's gone. And you want it and it's not there. It's like something's been removed involuntarily. And so, you know, I had all the language for it, like this is devastating. And, you know, and again, even you using that kind of language puts me in that world now. I'm in the world of devastation and loss. And right. But it's the only way I can describe how I'm feeling, right? Because we talked about language a little earlier and how you describe.
Yeah.
It took weeks. Started to recollect her the way that I would recollect my father who had passed away. And so I would be moved sometimes, and other things I would laugh. And I had this experience of her presence, like with me. And I thought, I'd much rather put this there than in this other place called loss.
Mm.
I'd much rather have this be with me like that.
Mm.
And then I realized that I'd chosen to put it somewhere else. So it was no longer located with me in the same place.
Yeah.
Now, in very simple terms, if you wanted to strip it all back, you would say it's contextual.
And different context.
Right.
For the same thing.
Ultimately, if you want to really get drilled down to everything's context.
Yeah.
Everything.
Well, it's language. The language in which, if you look up the word context, it's the words that surround the thing that give the thing how you experience it.
You're clearly far more educated about me about the word context than I am. So I'm going to are you going to have that one? You have that whole thing to yourself there. I never looked it up. Which is another interesting thing, by the way, that we do as human beings, not that you and I do, but as human beings, we use words that we've never looked up.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, can be a massive eye-opener.
When you look them up.
I know. And if you look them up and then you think about them, you're like, oh, wow, that could mean a whole host of things.
When you see there's 6 different
uses
possible
of the word.
uses of this word, and you're going, what? and the use I had of that word wasn't even any of them.
It wasn't one of them. I just made that up.
Yeah. I started looking at words more seriously probably about 10 years ago when we were going through, we had to really study stuff, study the ontology, study the work that we were doing. I look at words all the time now, much more frequently.
Yeah.
Just automatically. If I don't understand something, I thought, well, hang on, what's that mean?
The more I wrote, I became I was less of a fan of a dictionary and more a fan of a thesaurus.
Yeah.
Right? Because the thesaurus is such an eye-opener, right? Because sometimes I would read, I'd be like, oh, here's what I want to say. And I'd be like, oh, well, can I use that word earlier? So how can I get another word for that? I'll go look it up. And then I'll see another word for it, but it's actually another world for it.
Totally, yeah.
Right? And then you're like, oh my gosh. Like, that takes that, right? One of the things I think has really been important for me when I write is to write, like I said earlier, in a really accessible and easy way. But it has to be thick and grounded in philosophy.
Yeah.
But not in an obvious way.
Yeah, no, you don't want to lose people.
I don't want to talk about philosophy. I want to talk about what it means to people.
Yeah.
Right? And more importantly, how can I use that?
Yeah.
Right? Can I use that quote from somebody? Right? So one you talked about to me a little earlier today. Your language is the house of being.
Heidegger, yeah.
Right. Okay, so what? Right.
So what? I thought I knew what that meant straight away when I first heard it. And I don't know, 20 years later, I'm still going, yeah, but what does it really mean?
Right. And there's actually another half to that quote that I forget right now, but it actually opens it up in a whole other paradigm too.
Yeah.
So I think probably what has been most interesting in this, what you do, what I do, is really how to get people to the door of it and open it.
You know, if I'm a CEO, right, listening to this, or if I'm a founder or an entrepreneur or someone who's up to big things, I'm going, well, this is all interesting, but how's that? What do I do with that? How's that apply to?
Yeah,
I'm dealing with. I've got 2,000 employees.
Yeah,
I got somebody going sick over there. I've got my cash flow is running out.
Right.
You know, this is all nice stuff, but I got all this shit. I've got all this stuff to deal with.
Right.
You know, so how can they relate what you and I are talking about here with that? Like, what's that connection?
I did this event a number of years ago with a massive organization, and they flew in like this is how big they are. They're 20 CFOs.
Right.
Right. From all their other companies, right? And
they
brought them into Manhattan and I went to talk to them. When you start those kind of conversations, people are looking for a logic, right? Like a linear, like A plus B plus C and I'm there, right?
Yeah.
And so I started the thing by saying every company is founded on the fears of its owner, right? There was silence in the room.
Yeah.
Like, what's this guy talking
Well, if the owner's there, they're all looking around. They don't want to laugh and they don't want to agree.
So you're doing the jobs that are designed to protect the fears of the owner, right? And so if you've got a founder listening to this right now, your company is built on your fears, right?
Mm.
They don't think that. They're like, no, you're talking garbage. My company was built to design. Yeah, but you've got all these backdoor things put in place to protect you, right? And I don't mean financially, right? There's a you that you've spent your whole life trying to protect. And so you've got this side of you. So I've been working with athletes repeatedly, actually. I'm working with an athlete right now, an elite, top of the game athlete. And the first thing I say to anybody I would ever work with is, your entire life has to work if you want to be remarkable. You can't have your life work in bits.
Mm.
If somebody says, I want my business to work, I would say, yeah, absolutely. I want to produce profits that are here, 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 and here. Okay, but you're not doing that right now.
Yeah.
And that's you.
Yes.
You think that's not you.
Yeah.
You think that's what's going on around you. No, it's market forces. And no, it's your relationship to all those things. And you don't get that your relationship is there by default, that your relationship is constantly there. And that every time you look out the window or pick up the telephone, and I'm not old, I pick up the telephone like that, or you answer an email or whatever you do, there's a you there.
Mm.
And that you is giving you the results you're currently getting.
Yeah.
Right. And so, yeah, I want to pick away all of those things, like what, like not just why you're stopped. And I find this very, very common. I've done work on the business side of things. It's not my favorite. Right.
Right.
You're much more interested in that.
I like the creativity of it.
Right. Yeah. And I'm bored to death by it. But you love it. Yeah. And I know you love it.
Yeah.
I'm glad you love it.
Right.
And I don't have to do it.
Yeah, that's right.
But you do. You love it. And you have a real passion for that. But the places that we're looking from, and we're looking at somebody who's a performer.
Yeah.
It's the same. And, you can't live so anybody who's a founder or a CEO or somebody watching this right now, you think you can, but you can't live your life in compartment.
That's right. You can't be great at work, yet your marriage is falling apart.
Right. And for many people, by the way, that is exactly what's going on.
Yeah.
Their marriages are falling apart. Their families are falling apart.
It's unbelievable how many business owners I've worked with, and 3 weeks in, 4 weeks in, it's like, what, hold on, what's going on with you? What is it?
Right.
Well, my wife wants a divorce.
Right.
Well, why aren't we talking about that? That's what we should be talking about.
Right, because I want people, and you want people to know, you can have all that work. And if you have all that work, this is a different you who goes to work. It's not the same you who's been going, burning it at that end and trying to get away with it at that end. And so when you start to give people this idea that, listen, we're going to work through this and I'm going to show you how to have it work. And so I've done that with athletes. Athletes are usually amazing. They're like, oh, well, I want to, be in the zone. And I'm like, okay, we'll get to that. Let's start with, tell me 2 things in your life that doesn't work and be honest.
Yeah.
And then, they'll come up with some line and maybe say something about, what's working or what's not working.
Yeah.
But they'll always give you something. And when you get that little something, as you know, all you need is a bit of thread. And as you pull.
Yes.
Athletes are probably one of the more challenging, but CEOs can be very challenging because you have to keep giving this air of that your shit's together.
They do.
Yeah,
they do. Yeah.
And then when you're around them, it's not.
I had one guy, his company he was on the verge of going bankrupt, right? It was in a pandemic. And he said, if we could just keep the lights on, he's 4 body shops. And there were no cars on the road for like 3 months because we're screwed.
Nobody's crashing.
And no one's crashing because no one's driving. He says, if we could just make about 2 million, we could probably get through this thing, if it's about a year long, right? Okay. So I went to work on him and we worked on all sorts of relationships, integrity. He made 7 million.
Right.
Right? Like more than double what he could have even hoped of making,
Here's what I think people don't get from what you said, because I know what you said. After you'd worked with him, he was not the same person looking at those old problems.
No.
He was another kind of self looking at those old issues and being like, I'm doing this, and this, that he could not see from where he was located. He couldn't see it.
He went from working 60 to 70 hours a week down to 12.
Right.
And people don't believe that.
Right.
No, it's true.
Right.
He just met everybody for 4 hours on a Zoom call on a Monday morning. He
Right.
got a manager. I made him get 4 managers instead of him running around trying to do it all. First thing, get 4 managers, 1 for each shop.
Built
All right,
on
good.
his fears.
Huh?
built on his fears.
Oh, totally. You have to control everything. You have to control everything because otherwise they're not going to do it right. And then it's going to cost him money.
That's his fear.
And blah, blah, blah. Yeah, exactly.
Right. That's his fear. And so it's hard to kind of get your head around that, because the other thing about being a successful business person is these are very robust people.
Oh, yeah.
Right. These are human beings who, a lot of them have really gone through it. And so what they tend to focus on are the benefits of having gone through it.
Yeah.
What they can't see is the carnage of having gone through it.
Well, like him with his time, right?
Right.
Because he has to control everything or make sure it's all done properly, or they can't quite do it the same as me, or it's just easier to do it myself, or
Right.
I haven't got enough hours in the day to get it all done.
Right.
I can't afford more staff right now because we're tight with the cash flow.
Right. And that's old eyes looking at old problems.
Yeah.
You can't get new solutions to old problems with old eyes. You have to be located in a different spot. You look at these old issues and be like, well, duh, here's what I could be doing or should be doing. Or you don't get how constrained you are until you're finally free.
Oh, right.
And then when you're finally free, then you're like, man, I was constrained.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, you don't realize.
No.
Yeah.
You don't realize how constrained you are.
Well, this guy now was working. I mean, he was stressed out, 60, 70 hours a week, losing the business, all losing money, left, right, and center. Now spends hardly any time in the business, travels around the world. He's been offered, was it 23.5 million for the business, and he's never even there. Everybody's running it for him.
Right.
He doesn't have to be there.
Right.
It's just like this. It's like a totally different.
But I think what people would sometimes go with, they think that that's what you did, is have him just, start giving accountabilities to people. No, I know you've never talked to me about this guy before, but I know for sure that you worked on with him was what he thought was reality and what he thought he had to do, and you dismantled that.
Yeah.
And then he was left with, oh, I don't. And that's when he saw the other avenues, because people look at their life circumstantially, they think, oh, tell me what to do. That's not transformational work. Right?
Yeah. But also, I can't say what worked with him is going to work with somebody else.
Exactly.
So someone said, okay, well, why don't you just put it in a course and give it to everybody? Because that worked for him, but it's not going to work for this guy. Right. I don't know what's going to work for this guy till I start listening to him and talking to him and finding out what's actually going on and what's he dealing with.
So I say to people, you'll be far more powerful when you understand that where you're letting yourself off the hook and where you're pushing yourself in pretty destructive directions, which is why for some people you'll say, stop letting yourself off the hook. And some people say, well, I'm not, I'm burning myself out. Right. Or you'll say, well, you got to push on. And people are like, well, so it's knowing, and in a lot of cases for people, it's knowing, have I just let myself off the hook there? Like, was there another level for me to go there? Right. Which is a whole other thing, by the way. Can't remember. Said this now. This is my terrible memory at work here. But we mistake the edges of our minds for the edges of the universe. Like we think, I've thought of everything. I've done everything. I see everything. I know myself. And those are all just the egotistical statements of somebody who has never really explored anything beyond the constraints of what they've already come to believe.
Yeah. I was literally looking at that earlier today. It's like some people.
I think it was Schopenhauer, by the way. It might have been Schopenhauer.
All right. Yeah. Some people get like aggressive or offensive if you even hinted that maybe there's more to it, or you've got a limit to the way you see this. You've got a limit to your knowledge here. What do you mean? I know what I'm doing. It's like offended.
Yeah.
Versus, really, tell me more. I never want to stop learning. I want to keep seeing what I'm not seeing. I want to see as much as possible.
Yeah. So there's this part, and I know you've done this too. Like when you'll talk to somebody and they'll say, "Oh, my life's a train wreck, and this isn't going well, and that's not going well for me, and I just really want to sort it all out." And I say, "Okay, well, let's pick it all apart and let's see how you got yourself here. Oh, you took a turn there and you made something up." No, I didn't. That was true. I said, "No, you made that part up." And then what you end up in is somebody who is in a life that they don't want.
Yeah.
Arguing with you for it.
Yeah, fighting for it.
So they'll
To keep it
fight
the
for
same.
the life they don't want,
Yeah.
right? And that comes down to like this very simple, and there's nothing I'm saying here that isn't like it's not like I'm sharing some philosophy that no one's ever heard, but we are absolutely attached to certainty. People call it your comfort zone. It's not your comfort zone. People are in lives that are decidedly uncomfortable.
Right, but it's familiar or it's
People
what you
are in
know.
a certain or familiar zone.
Yeah,
And that's what people are attached to.
yeah,
They're attached to life. You know, if you had to consider the notion, ponder the idea that you're existing in an indifferent, chaotic universe, some people would get very displaced by that. Right?
yeah, yeah.
But if you actually did allow yourself to get displaced by it, you would see that you're actually fine in it.
At the same time, yeah, yeah.
You're like, yeah, I'm in a chaotic and indifferent universe. Like, this is why, like, I'm always like, I'm like the trope killer, right? Like, I just hear people have got all these tropes that they just roll them out. Like,
What's a trope? Sorry.
well, you know, like sayings.
Right.
And, you know, people say stuff like, everything happens for a reason. No, it doesn't. And for any reason. Well, not unless you want to make one up, which you probably will, and then you'll say that was the reason.
Yeah.
But it never happened because of that. It just happened.
Yeah.
But it's we do those things because we are attached to that there's something at play here.
Mm.
Now, if you can even allow yourself to get that there's nothing at play, there's nothing against you. It's all possibility
Mm.
and responsibility. So I got like the whole thing is possibility. And the only thing that attaches me to the outcome of that possibility is integrity. There's nothing else in the way. Nothing. There's nothing in the way. Right? People are like, well, you know, what if I write a great book or make a great album or la 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 and it's not successful? So what? So what? Do another one.
Yeah.
You know, write another one.
Get better.
Right. Yeah, right. And it's funny because, you know, the more I get into this, you actually hear the philosophy in a lot of things that people say, and particularly around artists, you know, you listen to people like Paul Simon or the Beatles talking about writing songs. There was no point where they're like, okay, I think this is the greatest thing I've ever done, and I'm done with writing. They were always trying or attempting to create the next and the next and the next.
Yeah.
Which is the other trope that people come out with is, you know, well, I want to get back to when life was, which is just such an illusion. It's
Totally.
nonsense.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Yeah. And we're full of those things.
Well, yeah, it's been great talking to you. You got a book coming out. What's the book you got coming out?
The book is called Now What?
Now What?
Now What? You, your life, and the truth you've been avoiding.
Perfect. It just brings together, like, summarize what we've been talking about.
For sure.
Which is great. Yeah, so when's it coming out?
It'll be out in 2026. I got a couple of other audio books that I'm putting together right now that won't be books, but they'll be audio books. And then I'm working on another book right now. Super excited by that, actually, by the potential that's in that book for me as a writer. As long as I've got some excitement about a project, I'm usually feeling pretty good.
Great. And what would you say to people about my book?
Right. So I think one of the things that's absent in the world of business is this idea of a transformed self in business. And so, and I know that's something you're passionate about, is about shifting people's ideas of who they think they are and what they think they're capable of and what they think they're up against.
Well, they become this fixed object.
Right.
Whereas, you know, in my book, it's about, oh, well, that's not real. And that's not real. You know, you talk about the lid on a flea jar, right?
Right.
Well, it's not real. And you still won't jump out. Well, what's holding
Correct.
you, you know?
And that's
like freeing you up.
I think that's an unexplored avenue for a lot of people who are serious about success in the business world.
Yeah.
Because it's usually related to is so structured and linear.
Knowing what to do and doing the right thing.
Right, but we all admire the free thinkers in business. But what is that? Like, what is it to think freely?
Outside the box.
Right, we say those things.
Yeah.
But go ahead and think outside the box. Well, you can't think outside the box until you recognize what the box actually is.
That you're in. Beautiful. Gary, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you. Thanks for having me.